Today, GPU prices are dropping again. More on Nvidia's surprise GPU, the first review of Nvidia's new GPU, and Ryzen 8000 is gonna be amazing. Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. First up for today, GPU prices seem to be falling more and more every day, proving that demand has been lowered significantly from the past few years. Unfortunately, part of that is due to inflation hurting consumers, but it's also thanks to the crypto crash and move of Ethereum to proof of stake. Either way, two GPUs have dropped by a whopping 20% below MSRP in China. Starting things off, AMD's RX 7900 XT originally launched at 7,399 yuan, which is around $1,064 US. But it can now be found with the XFX Merc 618 model for as low as 5,499 yuan, which is around $790 US, a whopping 25% drop below MSRP. And that's shortly after the 7900 XT went on sale in the US for its lowest price of $762. Moving over to Nvidia, the Manly Gallardo variant of the RTX 4080 launched at an MSRP of 9,499 yuan or $1,366 US. Now the GPU can be found for as low as 7,399 yuan or a 22.1% drop. Basically, both AMD and Nvidia GPUs are falling all over the world. Let's just hope this trend continues so we can finally get GPUs at reasonable prices. Next up for today, it looks like we have new details on Nvidia's surprise GPU aimed at fighting back against AMD. But first, it's time to take your passion for PC hardware and put it into something that can actually make you money, like a career in computer science. And there's no better place to get started than with this video's sponsor, Brilliant, the online learning tool that I recommend for anyone hoping to dive into STEM, especially given Brilliant was made to teach it. The main thing I love about it though is that they teach you by getting you in there to do it yourself. So you're not just reading long books or memorizing a bunch of formulas. Instead, you learn with these really fun little puzzles that slowly build as you go until you actually understand how it works. It's honestly, well, brilliant. Okay, that was lame, but get this. When you visit brilliant.org/gamermeld, you can try out Brilliant for 30 days free. Plus, when you sign up using brilliant.org/gamermeld, you'll get 20% off the annual premium. So there's no reason not to try it. Once again, that's brilliant.org/gamermeld. Now back to the story. If you saw my video on it, a rumor began floating around that claimed Nvidia was planning to release the RTX 4060 Ti in two variants. One with 8GB of VRAM that we already knew about, and one with a whopping 16GB, which was definitely a surprise, though obviously a welcomed one given games seem to require more VRAM than ever. Well, according to a new report from Video Cards, a document from Nvidia that was recently given to board partners actually lists some specs of the upcoming 16GB GPU. According to the story, Nvidia is using a different GPU from the 8 to 16GB model, though it's not a big difference. The new variant is the 8106-351 instead of -350. This should mean that it keeps the same amount of cores and things like that, though Video Cards isn't sure. Another aspect that differs is in power consumption. Given the 16GB model does come with double the memory, you'd also expect a bit more power draw. And that is the case, as the model gets a 5W higher TDP at 165 watts. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see Nvidia releasing a mid-range GPU with a ton of memory like they did with their 3060. I assume that was just a mistake in the design phase for Nvidia because they thought they need a lot more memory to compete, but given they're doing it again, I guess not. Either way, it'll be interesting to see the price difference and whether this new GPU will be worth it. Time, as always, will tell. And next up, if you saw my video on it, Nvidia recently announced the RTX 4000 SFF or small form factor GPU that, while incredibly tiny, looked really impressive, at least according to Nvidia. Luckily, the card is finally out and the first review has dropped. Oh, and if you're interested in picking one up, I'll have affiliate links down in the description below. It won't cost you anything more and it helps the channel out. Either way, the review comes from this Japanese outlet where they put the card through its paces. Remember that the RTX 4000 SFF is built on Nvidia's Ada Lovelace architecture and comes with 6,144 CUDA cores, a whopping 20GB of GDDR6 memory, and consumes a shockingly small 70 watts. When it comes to performance, the RTX 4000 4000 SFF was tested in 15 games, and as you can see, Nvidia's new tiny GPU gets very close to the 3060 Ti's performance. When we look at the overall numbers, it handily beats the 3060 and gets right up to the 3060 Ti. Of course, that may not seem great given it has even more cores than Nvidia's RTX 4070, but as you can see here, the 4000 SFF sticks very close to that 70-watt TDP Nvidia gives it, only shortly getting up as high as 85 watts. But comparing that to the other GPUs, you can see that it's seriously efficient. Basically, Nvidia had to lower clocks by quite a bit, and it only comes with a tiny 160-bit memory bus. Still, I'd say it's one impressive GPU given it takes 65% less power than the 3060 Ti. The only real downside is price. The RTX 4000 SFF is a workstation card, and because of that, it comes with workstation prices. With it currently selling for over $1,400, you can get a much more powerful gaming card. But if you need something really tiny, this could be worth it for you. And lastly for today, it looks like we finally have what should be final specs for AMD's upcoming Ryzen 8000 CPUs, as well as some huge performance claims. The first story comes from a new report by the German website PC Games Hardware, where they claim that these specs have been confirmed with AMD's manufacturer partners for the first time. So let's get to it. Starting things off, we know that these are called Granite Ridge and that they're based on Zen 5. But what we didn't know for sure is that these apparently come with between 6 and 16 cores, which means AMD is not planning to move up in core count to get to where Intel's 13th gen currently is. Of course, don't forget that Intel gets there with their efficient cores, which don't have multi-threading like their big cores, so it's not really a fair comparison here. Still, Intel's little cores are pretty powerful. Not only that, but they apparently come with up to 64 megabytes of L3 cache and 16 megabytes of L2 cache, which is the same as Ryzen 7000. The big jump here would of course be the move to TSMC's 3nm process, and from that process change alone, we can expect between 25 to 30% less power consumption at the same performance over 5nm, or 10 to 15% more performance at the same power draw. And given the TDP is apparently staying the same, we should expect that 10 to 15% as the starting point. And that brings me to performance. According to a recent video from Red Gaming Tech, he's hearing the uplift will be between 20 and 25% in IPC alone, meaning that doesn't include an increase in clocks. So we're talking a serious jump. Finally, we have release, which according to this is coming in the second half of next year. Let's just say I'm definitely excited about this one. So while that does it for today, do you think Ryzen 8000 will come in hard and beat Intel, or will Team Blue hold their own? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to try out Brilliant at brilliant.org/gamermelt. And as always, have a great day.